Today we're going to look at the angles that are formed by a transversal. So our learning target is I can use rules about angles formed by a transversal and parallel lines. Our essential question is what angle relationships are created when parallel lines are cut by a transversal. Don't forget to fill out your name, class, and date, and pause the video to write those statements. All right, so we're going to get back into our rules. We haven't seen them since chapter 1. So our first rule, rule number 11, is an if-then statement. So if you see this picture, then we know the following are true. The picture, for all of the rules today, talk about two parallel lines, and you can identify them by this chevron marking, these arrows, if you will, cut by a transversal. So a transversal is one line crossing two or more lines. So all of our rules today start with this picture with two parallel lines cut by a transversal. It also helps us to remember our rules when we're listing them in a proof because they all start the same. Okay, so what do we know? Then our corresponding angles are congruent. So angle 1 is going to be congruent with angle 3. Angle 2 is going to be congruent with angle 4. Angle 5 is going to be congruent with angle 7. And angle 6 is congruent with angle 8. So our matching corner angles are congruent. Remember, we can abbreviate corresponding angle rule. They are congruent. Let's practice. So using rule number 11, our corresponding angle rule, we know that matching corners are congruent. So let's find the measure of angle ABC. The measure of angle ABC is noted here as an x value. We need to find what x equals. So I see that x is a matching corner with 80 degrees and corresponding angles are congruent. We know that by rule number 11, so x is going to equal 80 degrees. But notice we weren't asked to find what x equals. We were asked to find the measure of angle ABC. So measure of angle ABC is 80 degrees. All right, let's apply also what we know to find the measure of angle QRS. QRS. So I want to find the measure of this angle that has no information. So I'm going to label that question mark. I do see a pair of corresponding angles. So I know that x equals 118 degrees. Why? Well, they're corresponding angle rule. You will need to know the why as we will be doing proofs in a few classes. All right, so if x equals 118 degrees, well, what else do I know? X and question mark are a linear pair, so x plus question mark equals 180 degrees. Why? Because they are a linear pair. Keep up with everything. As you can see, we're going to use everything in chapter 1 and everything in chapter 2. So I can substitute 118 in for x to find question mark. So all I have to do is subtract 118 from both sides to get us that question mark is going to be equal to 62 degrees. So the measure of angle QRS is 62 degrees. All right, here we have some more rules. Rule number 12 and 13. But notice our if parts are all the same. So if we see two parallel lines cut by a transversal, then, well, let's see. In rule number 12, we can say that alternate interior angles are congruent. So angle 1 is going to be congruent with angle 3, and angle 2 is going to be congruent with angle 4. Okay, let's give ourselves a little note here. So alternate interior angle rule, good news is that they are congruent. Let's see if our exterior angle pairs are the same. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then two pairs of alternate exterior angles are also congruent. Yes, so angle 5 is going to be congruent with angle 7, and angle 6 is going to be congruent with angle 8. Let's give ourselves a little note. Well, this is great news. So as of now, corresponding angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior angles are all congruent. That's great. What about same side? Okay, so the if parts are all the same. We have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. Then what do we know is true? All right, then the pairs of same side interior angles are supplementary. All right, so same side interior angles, angle rule is supplementary, meaning that their angles are going to add up and add up to 180 degrees. What I like about this pairing, and it helps me remember, is same side and supplementary starts with an S. They both start with S. Corresponding and congruent both start with a C. All right, same side exterior angle rule, then the two pairs of same side exterior angles are also supplementary. Great. So all same sides are all supplementary. Okay. All right, we are going to be doing proofs in class, so pay attention. You're going to be doing this on your own by the end of this unit. So we're going to prove alternate interior angles are congruent. So given two parallel lines, we see that line L is parallel to line M. That's our first statement. And our why can we say that? Remember, the reasons are just our why can we say that is that it's given. All right, now we need to start noticing things. And a lot of times we're just listing definitions. So let's start with what we know for sure. I spy angle 1 and angle 3. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. That can be my second statement. And how do I know that? Well, the corresponding angle theorem. So we start the same way. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. All right, what else can I see? Ooh, I see vertical angles. So my third statement is going to be that angle 1 is congruent with angle 2. It's my third statement. So let me state the definition of vertical angles. I believe it's rule number 10 on your rule sheet. If two lines form opposite angles, then the vertical angles are congruent. Ooh, I noticed something algebraically. I have two angle 1s. That means that my angle 2 can substitute in for angle 1. So my fourth and final statement is I can say angle 2 is congruent to or equal to angle 3. You might not be able to see the yellow, but since I have two angle 1s, angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and angle 1 is congruent to 2, I can also state by the transitive property or substitution that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. We've proved alternate interior angles are congruent. Try that one on your own. You will be doing proofs. All right, let's look at some angle measures. All right, so our job is to find the angle measures and name our rule or name our angle pair. So here I see question mark and 48. They are both going to be touching the transversal, so I want to label that. That helps when the problems get tricky. And find my inside. So I see that these are alternate interior angles, and so I'm going to use the alternate interior angle rule that says that they're congruent. So question mark equals 48. That's it. Once you know your angle pairs and whether they're whether they are congruent or supplementary, that's the lesson for today. Let's see, find our transversal, find our inside. So these are alternate, exterior, angle rule, which also says that they are congruent. So I can say question mark is equal to 134 degrees. Great. All right, problem number 3, find my transversal, find my interior. So I see now I have same side, interior angles. And the rule states that they are supplementary. So they add up to 180 degrees. So 117 degrees plus question mark equals to 180 degrees. If I subtract 117 from both sides, I see that my question mark is equal to 63 degrees. Okay, so you just need to remember if your angle pairs are congruent or supplementary. All right, here I see we have same side interior, same side. It matches with supplementary. So I'm going to add up 91 plus question mark, add them up to 180 degrees. If I subtract 91 from both sides, I see that my unknown angle is 89 degrees. All right, let's get tricky. You guys are doing great with this in class. All right, so find your transversal, find your interior. So I have alternate, interior angle rule. So question mark is equal to 99 degrees because these are congruent. Yay! All right, tricky again. So find my transversal. It's going to touch both angles. There's my parallel line, so that would be my inside. So I have alternate, exterior, angle rule, which means that they are congruent. So question mark is going to be equal to 63 degrees. All right, 3 left. Here we go. So, there's a triangle in there. Oh no. But if we find our transversal and we find the inside of our parallel lines, I can see now that I've marked up my figure that I have same side, interior, angle rule, and I'm going to use the rule for that, which says that they're supplementary. So 113 plus question mark is equal to 180 degrees. So if I subtract 113, I see question mark is going to be equal to 67 degrees. We can even level up and solve for x. So if I find my transversal, find my inside, I have alternate, interior angles, and if I use the rule, I see that they are congruent. So I'm going to set them equal to each other. So 133, plus x is equal to 124. And if I subtract 133 from both sides, I see that x is going to be equal to a negative number, and that's okay because this isn't an angle measure, it is a value of an unknown number. All right, number 9, let's see if we can sneak this one in. Number 9, I want to find my transversal, find my interior angles. So I'm going to, same side, interior. So 127 plus x plus 55 is equal to 180. So if I add 127 and 55, I get 182. And if I subtract 182 from both sides, I see x equals -2. All right, we're doing great. You try, and we'll see you in class.